So I'm going to go ahead and open up the webinar here. Welcome everyone to our webinar today on GSA, General Services Administration. We have Amy Hasseltine, hopefully I said that correctly, our Deputy Assistant Commissioner for Acquisitions with us. And really, this is not about how to get on a GSA schedule. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the meat and potatoes of GSA acquisitions, and I'm really looking forward to this. Our moderator today is the managing partner of BidExecs Houston, Amika Ali. She's going to be moderating your questions at the end, and I will be assisting her. And I'm your host, Reena Bhatia. I am the CEO of Proposal Helper and BidExecs, but more importantly, I'm a board member of the Asian American Chamber of Commerce. And for those of you who are not familiar with our chamber, I highly encourage you to visit our website, learn about the chamber, and become a member. We provide valuable business networking, business development solutions, and services to all businesses, all kinds of businesses across the Virginia, DC, Maryland area, but now really pretty much all over the United States. So I highly encourage you all, if you're not a member of our chamber, to please consider joining the Asian American Chamber of Commerce. All board members are volunteers. We are not paid members. We bring all the different types of programming to you to help you with networking and help your businesses grow. And part of that, I belong to the GovCon committee. We bring in amazing speakers such as Amy who has joined us today to educate you on the different agencies, what they buy and how to do business with these various agencies. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Amika to introduce Amy.
Hello, everyone. So as Reena mentioned, our guest speaker today is Amy Hasseltine, and she's the Deputy Assistant Commissioner of Acquisitions within the Information Technology category at GSA in the Federal Acquisition Services Group. And Ms. Hasseltine was also the acting director of the GSA's Quality Service Management Office for the Civilian Human Resources Transaction Services and the New Pay Program Management Office. You. And a little bit about myself. My name is Amika Ali. I'm a managing partner at BidExecs Houston. I am a former federal contracting officer with over 18 years of experience working in the federal government. My background is working with NASA, Berkeley Lab. I actually was in Federal Acquisition Services branch as a supervisor at GSA at one time. And now I am the managing partner again at BidExecs Houston. I have a master's degree in public administration from Golden Gate University and a bachelor's in management from Hampton University.
Well, we're going to hand it over to you, Amy. If you have done no justice to your intro, please feel free to reintroduce yourself and then dive into your slides.
That sounds great. Well, thank you for the very, very warm welcome. Hopefully folks can hear and see all right in this virtual audience. Again, Amy Hasseltine, a delight to be with all of you. I do serve as the Deputy Assistant Commissioner for IT Acquisition within the General Services Administration, and in particularly in the Office of the IT category. I have been around the block in government a long, long time, and I am delighted to know that my most lovely and illustrious and very articulate introducer is also a member of the GSA family and a GSA alum. So thank you so much for your service in public service as we engage in what I hope will be a really dynamic discussion about IT acquisition from, of course, the GSA lens. So when I came into this conversation today, I was, of course, super excited to get to be with all of you in this new world we live in, this virtual environment. And I did some thinking and some research, and I just admit off the top of my head, I am a little bit of a geek when it comes to history and research. And I did some reflection on the history of procurement in and across the United States. And you might appreciate, and you might already know, that the history of procurement and acquisitions goes all the way back to the Revolutionary War, if you can imagine that. The federal government, or the emerging federal government in our country, really needed to acquire products, services to support the effort of the war, and in particular, of course, the splitting with England. And so instead of the federal government or the government of the colonies producing their own goods and services, they worked with subject matter experts in areas outside and across our growing country, our new set of colonies, to obtain what they needed to do. Procurement acquisitions have evolved over time, as you all are again deeply aware. 1984, of course, had the establishment of the Federal Acquisition Regulation. And even to this day, we've seen that Federal Acquisition Regulation evolve over time. But there are 4 constants from my vantage point that are present from back 200 and some odd years ago to today. And those 4 themes, those 4 threads that bind us together and really transcend the totality of our acquisition experience are as follows. Policy. What is the framework, the policy, the legal, the statutory, regulatory framework that guides the work we do, sets those rules, those guardrails and foundations? What are the processes that we have to engage in, both on the federal side and our industry partners have to work through in order to actually create that transaction, that award, in order to facilitate the exchange of the goods and services that we need to make that mission happen? Third, and of equal importance, are people. People are what make all of those different pieces come together. They are as critical to us in acquisition as any policy and any process we might have. And then the 4th thread to the totality of this experience is partnership. And partnership is why we are here today, and why the council that you all are talking with, this Chamber of Commerce that you're part of, is so very, very, very important, because partnership is really just about building relationships with our customers that we serve, and of course, facilitating the missions that we must support. But it's equally a piece of our dialogue and our experience in terms of partnership with the vendor and industry community. And with that vendor and that industry community, that, my friends, is how we make mission happen. Indeed, how we make mission happen. And that's where the exciting things are. So one of the reasons I'm with you today is to make sure that as we talk about what GSA is, how we work, how we're organized, some of the different vehicles that are there, you will hear me reflect upon and thread through our dialogue this notion of partnership. Because the truth is that without partners, such as our industry partners and our customer partners, we would not be able to make the mission happen across the federal space. So I'm excited to be with you and share that. On the slide that you see in front of you, I'll just draw your attention. There are really 2 big ticket parts of it. You may be aware that in 1949, President Truman established the General Services Administration. And within GSA, we have 2 primary services, the Public Building Service and the Federal Acquisition Service. Our focus today is going to be on that Federal Acquisition Service. Within the Federal Acquisition Service, we have 4 major components or portfolios that help carry out our work. And they work on the slide left to right. As you see on the left side of the slide, we have the Assisted Acquisition Service. This is really a customer support service. They provide acquisition support services to guide agencies through all stages of the acquisition process. The next group I'd want to focus on is called CASE, Customer and Stakeholder Engagement. And they are really about those strategic relationships at that agency level, develops and manages strategic customer relationships and brings those customer relationships to the Federal Acquisition Service and brings the fast value to those customers. Working down toward the bottom right-hand part of that square, we've got the Technology Transformation Service. Think of that as digital transformation. TTS delivers digital services and solutions to help agencies see the art of the possible through technology. And then I have to say, one of my favorite places is ITC. The information technology category, we partner with our agencies to develop, buy, train, and deliver IT acquisition solutions. And how do we do that? Through strong partnerships with our vendor and industry partner community. If we could go to the next slide. So when we think about that construct of the General Services Administration, the major portfolios within the Federal Acquisition Service, it might lead you to ask the question, well, what does ITC actually do? And so let's talk about that a little bit. If you go again left to right on this particular slide, you'll see in this left-hand box, ITC's focus. We strive to make it easier for civilian and defense customers to achieve their mission through innovative IT solutions. How do we do that? We focus on building an acquisition framework and providing capabilities that allow for IT modernization, sustainability of infrastructure to make that mission happen. We focus on cybersecurity, as all of you are aware, in law, in executive order, in the body of the existing federal acquisition regulation, and frankly, just in the world around us. Cybersecurity is everywhere. It is not a game only the IT folks get to play. It is a game that everybody plays, whether you are in the acquisition space, whether you are a business owner, whether you are an entity that is applying for a federal grant, or an entity that is submitting a proposal for an acquisition. It is critical that all of us understand those rules and how we apply them in our day-to-day life. We also focus on making sure that we reduce acquisition risk, that our acquisition vehicles are built in a way that makes sense for our customer and for our vendor partner, and that they're, of course, compliant with the rules that we have to follow in order to make those acquisitions meaningful and deliver the results that are required. We want to make sure as well that we ensure constructive, consistent access to small businesses, and that we leverage the power of those small businesses, the innovation of those small businesses to bring the latest and greatest goods and services to the customers that we serve. We focus on innovation. The world we are living in today is not the world we're going to live in tomorrow or in 10 years. Think back, if you can, and I do mean if you can, to 2019. Who would have ever envisioned what the world was like in 2020 or 2021? So innovation has to be on the forefront of everything that we do. And then, of course, vendor relationship management. We have an incredible workforce in ITC. I'm extremely proud of them. We have a large body of individuals who are acquisition professionals. We've got IT subject matter experts. We focus on technologists and architects who bring certain types of technical expertise to the table. So it is a very diverse portfolio of activities that we engage in and a diverse cadre of employees that work within ITC. If we look toward the right, you'll see some of the ways in which ITC helps to help our customers achieve their mission through these IT solutions. We make sure that as we offer our acquisition vehicles, we've got the opportunity to refresh those acquisition vehicles to ensure that the latest and greatest technologies are available, and that the totality of our acquisition vehicles reflect the needs of customers both today and onto the horizon. We make sure that as we think about the construction or the design of an acquisition deal, we're looking to deliver that best-in-class experience. That is a very precise designation given by the Office of Management and Budget. So many of our offerings have that particular designation. And then, of course, we look for collaborative partnerships across the totality of it. At the end of the day, in Amy's words, what are we here to do in ITC? 3 things. First, deliver the wow in the here and now. We want to make your experience as an industry partner, as a customer, that wow kind of experience. Secondarily, we are always keeping our eye on the horizon. What is coming down the pike? Not tomorrow, not the next day, but 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And how can we anticipate that change and factor that change into the way in which we consider acquisitions and the way we think about technology? And then third, and of equal, and I think maybe even more importance, it's facilitating the journey, whether you are a customer or a vendor partner, from the here and now to the to be, because all of us bring to the table our own unique customer experience. In GSA, we try to understand that customer experience, whether you are with our vendor partner community or you're with our agency community. We could go to the next slide, please. We just talked a little bit about the importance of technology, and I won't spend a ton of time on this particular slide, but I did want to kind of put a finer point on the importance of emerging technology. ITC strives to deliver leading edge information technology solutions. On this particular slide, you see 4 boxes that talk about, at a very high level, some of the major buckets of work that we do. We have government-wide acquisition contracts. You may be familiar with words like VETS 2. You may have been aware of the most recent Polaris opportunity. We have telecommunications and networks contracts. For those of you that are in our audience, you may be familiar with EIS, or Enterprise Infrastructure Solutions acquisition vehicle. We also have the multiple award schedule for technology, and there are multiple special item numbers. We have a cloud SIN that is available for our customers to use, and it is actually a great way for our small businesses or any business that is in the early stages of maturity to join onto an IT or to a government-wide vehicle and gain that experience and develop that portfolio of experiences and capabilities. And then within ITC, we have a unique set of very strategic solutions. HSPD 12 is a security type of solution, as well as some others that are noted here. But across this and beyond just the vehicles themselves, it's important for me to just share with you two things. Certainly, our acquisition vehicles are designed, and I do mean into the framework of the master contract itself, to facilitate the utilization and the onboarding of emerging technologies. And that's important, so that whatever way the vehicle is designed, we've got the ability to know what we know now, but also recognize we don't know all of it, and that the contract allows us to bring those new capabilities on board. But I think what's of equal importance here is that within ITC, we also have our own internal structure and processes to facilitate the identification of those emerging technologies, create a mechanism in which we evaluate those emerging technologies in partnership with our vendor community and understanding customer demand, and then facilitate a path to bringing those technologies onto our acquisition vehicles. And finally, what is again of critical importance here is the partnership with our industry partners on a variety of different working groups across the federal landscape that foster information exchange and learning to ensure that both GSA, ITC are always keeping our eye on that horizon as it relates to the life cycle of technology and ensuring that our customers have the best that we can deliver at the time that they need it to be delivered. All right, next slide, please. All right, so when it comes to acquisition, at the end of the day, often people say, show me the money. So I wanted to share with you a few stats from our FY21 or fiscal year 21 cycle. In terms of ITC's overarching business volume, we did about $32 billion in business last year. We saved about $2.31 billion, and the total government spend that came through ITC vehicles, 43%. That's pretty substantial. So if you're able to do business with ITC, you've got a terrific shot at participating in the government-wide acquisition game and really finding some periods and opportunities for success. Equally important, that word partnership. We have over 6,000 partners that we work with to make these acquisitions happen. Total dollars to small business, cannot say this enough, $7.7 billion in FY21, and we've got over $630 million in state and local partnerships as well. So clearly, even from a dollar perspective, a lot of work being done. Next slide, please. From a government-wide perspective, the IT category remains vital to making mission happen across the totality of the federal space. In FY21, we saw hardware in almost the $7 billion range, about 6.8, I believe. Software equally critical. We saw over 11 billion in spend in IT software. The security area, over 3 billion in spend, and then telecom certainly over 5 billion, and IT services writ large, about over 43 billion, almost $44 billion in spend. So again, even in a government-wide perspective, IT is the place to be. Now, of course, I'm saying that having worked there, so I do have a bit of a bias, but clearly it's an area of importance, and I would say even just looking at trends over time, we expect that it will continue to be so. If we can go to that next slide, please. Great. So this slide has got a lot of information on it, and I'm going to try to distill it into a few specific areas. So if you see on the slide, there's these three wonderful columns: acquisition, technology, shared services, and then this box on the far right. And I'm going to work myself left to right on where we are with these. So the red box on the left, that talks about or references our acquisition vehicles, and then there are a multitude of them. And you see some of them listed below, whether it's our GSA schedule or some of the government-wide acquisition contracts that you see listed below as well. So our acquisition vehicles, they're like the backbone of what we do. And through those, we make sure that we're able to provide offerings in IT modernization, areas like in artificial intelligence, RPA, opportunities for our customers to leverage technology to support mobility, 5G, IoT, the Internet of Things. We've got a number of different offerings that cut across and inform our cybersecurity posture. And then again, a number of offerings that support cloud. So there's some major areas of work that we do that are supported or buttressed by these acquisition vehicles themselves. So technology is that middle stack, and those are there's a range of technologies that certainly we offer within the ITC portfolio. Some of those technical solutions are noted, as I've said here. I would say as a general matter, when you think about some of the key trends that we're seeing in technology, certainly a tremendous degree of attention on the cloud portfolio, cloud services, cloud infrastructure, and a number of different facets related to the cloud. Additionally, a lot of work and a lot of interest in any of the tools related to cybersecurity and facilitating one's journey and maturity in creating a safe, secure, sustainable infrastructure. And then third, certainly there's a tremendous degree of interest in quote unquote as a service items, whether it's platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, unified communications as a service. Folks are in the space of understanding as a agency what their core mission is and looking to other experts to help them facilitate some of the technical tools that make that mission happen versus owning all of it themselves. This third piece is the shared services piece, and certainly within ITC, we're even playing in that shared services space. Folks may recall at the top of the hour, there was a mention of the Quality Shared Services Management Organization. The Office of Management and Budget has a push government-wide, an initiative government-wide to support shared services through the establishment of these entities called QSMOs, again, Quality Shared Services Management Organizations. GSA actually is partnering with Treasury on the acquisition support for their financial management QSMO activity. On the right, though, let's talk a little bit about that particular box. So on the right, I would just offer that is ITC carries out its mission as ITC builds these vehicles, places them on the street, partners with our vendors. We are consistently striving toward excellence to deliver high quality acquisition vehicles and ensure a high quality customer experience, whether that customer is working with us directly in the design of an acquisition vehicle, or whether that customer is utilizing and engaging with one of the many industry partners that I referenced earlier through one of the existing acquisition vehicles. We also want to make sure that we're staying up to date on all the most critical and new knowledge related to IT acquisitions, so that again, we can support the delivery of the wow in the here and now, but equally be prepared for the acquisition landscape of the future. The bottom line is that through all of this, we are striving to support safe, and you see that bright yellow box, secure and sustainable infrastructure to make these missions happen across government. One last note on this particular slide, because I want to be thoughtful of time. We have a number of government-wide acquisition contracts, or GWACs, noted in the items right below the yellow box. You see something called GSA schedule, that's our multiple awards schedule. But then you see an item called EIS, that's our Enterprise Infrastructure Solutions, another best-in-class vehicle, about $50 billion available on that. There are 9 vendors, 6 of which are large business, 3 of which are small. We've got Alliant 2, our STARS 3 vehicle. That is an incredibly important vehicle because that was awarded in 2021 of June. We've got 154 task orders already on that. We've bringing in about, or equating to about $500 million, working with 24 agencies and issuing over or about 1,000 awards as part of our most recent cohort. STARS 3 is an 8A set aside, and it really focuses on ensuring capabilities for emerging technologies are present. It does work both inside of the United States and outside of the United States. So that is a very, very exciting vehicle. Just want to make sure we draw your attention to that. As it relates to VETS 2, GSA has had a long history, of course, of working with the service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. It is the only GWAC set aside exclusively for these veteran-owned small businesses. It's got a 5-year base with 5-year options. It was awarded in 2018 and has a $5 billion ceiling. To date, my understanding is we've got about 159 task order awards so far, total obligations equating to $746 million, with an estimated value of about, and if not slightly over, the $2 billion mark. So pretty exciting there. And then the last one I do want to note is Polaris. I'm super excited about Polaris. Polaris is our newest GWAC, specifically focusing on small business, and it's actually called out in GSA's Diversity, Equity, Access and Inclusion and Access, DEIA, Inclusion and Access Equity Plan, as a vehicle directly to support engagement with our small business community. The focus of the Polaris vehicle is to ensure that we've got a trusted vehicle that brings innovation and is designed in partnership with our vendor community to deliver highly complex IT services from some of the most highly skilled, experienced, and capable small businesses across a wide array of socioeconomic pools. We actually issued an RFP back in March. We did a bit of a pause in June to respond to some industry feedback. We've re-released our RFPs focused on the first 2 pools, which is small business and women-owned small business. There was a deadline of August 19th for those first 2 pools to submit their proposals. And then we are still on track and expect to issue an RFP for HubZone and service-disabled veterans before the end of the fiscal year this year. So clearly in this space, a lot going on and a lot of opportunity that's present across the totality of our portfolio. So if we could take this slide and then shift to the next one. All right, so as we carry all this work out, how does ITC endeavor to actually deliver the kinds of wow and here and now that I've just talked about and keep that eye on the future? So as we develop our acquisition frameworks, and those acquisition frameworks that we've just talked about provide a wide array of technical products and services that are designed to reflect our administration's priorities. Within ITC, we really never lose sight of 4 key pillars and 4 key value propositions. First, customer commitment. Customer commitment, my friends. How do we ensure that we are delivering the best to our customers, ensuring that they are pleased and delighted, if you will, with the acquisition services we provide and the IT capabilities that we offer? Convenience. We want to make it easy for people to do business with the government. We want to ensure that any engagement we have with a customer, as well as with a vendor, is smooth and seamless. We still work to do that 100% of the time. We continuously work to improve those efforts, but convenience is critical. Compliance. That's a big deal at GSA. We want to make sure that any and all of our acquisition vehicles are compliant with the federal acquisition regulations and all of the executive orders and statutes that guide our work. We also want to make sure that any products and services that we're offering are compliant from a cybersecurity perspective as well. So we take great care to factor compliance into the actual way we design the acquisition vehicles themselves, and then to ensure that our processes are facilitating the highest degree of compliance from a cybersecurity perspective as well. And then finally, we want to make sure that we are delivering a cost of savings value proposition. We work internally to reduce the costs that we have, to reduce administrative burden, and we work with all of you to ensure, and ultimately with our customers ensure that we're giving you the best prices possible. And through all of that, it's intended to help us get to that wow in the here and now, that eye on the horizon, and facilitating the delivery and the movement from where you are today and the journey to where you're going to be tomorrow. If we could do the next slide, please. Small business first. I really love this particular slide because, as I noted at the beginning of our discussion today, within the framework of acquisition community, within the community itself, partnerships are key. Partnerships are key, and small businesses are a critical facet of that partnerships. One of the most important partnerships we have within GSA and within ITC is GSA's Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. The Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization Office is a really, really important office for vendor community partners to understand. OSDBU or OSDBU connects small businesses with people and resources to help them grow. They're also in charge of something called the Small Business Procurement Preference Goaling Program and the 8A Business Development Program. One of the things that I have found during my tenure, and true at GSA, and frankly true as well during my tenure at the Department of Health and Human Services, is that our offerings and our partnerships are as diverse as the mission and the challenges we're trying to solve. And it is through that diversity that we're able to really examine challenges holistically, bring a multitude of perspectives to bear to help facilitate change and address the challenges we're trying to solve. And through our partnership with OSDBU, through the work that we do with our small business community, and through the offerings that help facilitate direct engagements from the small business community with the General Services Administration, we're ensuring that the diversity of those perspectives, the diversity of those offerings are upfront and close and are ready to be utilized to help make that mission happen. If we could go to the next slide. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about our small business success in FY21. I am excited to report GSA received an A+ from the Small Business Administration on its Small Business Procurement Scorecard. GSA actually awarded $2.7 billion, more than 46% of our eligible contract dollars, to small businesses. This is an important distinction because we want to make sure in GSA that we not only walk the talk, that we not only say the words and express the criticality of our small businesses, but that we actually walk that talk in real life experience. And this $2.7 billion and the award from the Small Business Administration is illustrative of our commitment to actually making that happen. Additionally, GSA has exceeded its small business contracting goals. The Federal Acquisition Service spent $1.2 billion with small businesses, which equates to about 41% of our spend that went to small businesses. Our OAS awarded $37 million to HubZone and small businesses, and the Public Building Service awarded about $846 million, or 34% of the eligible spend, to our small and disadvantaged businesses. Next slide, please. Engaging in small businesses, and hopefully that's the slide that you guys can see as well. Oops, there we go. Small business successes was a different slide. Small business successes in 21. To continue that discussion then, how does that happen? And what are some of the ways that we're really focused on enjoying that? We do have a few things to kind of call to your particular attention. We have a program within ITC called the IT Category Startup Springboard. This is intended to facilitate some of our industry partners that are a bit early in their maturity journey. So in lieu of some of the 2-year corporate experiences required for the multiple award schedule, you can now use professional experience of executives and key personnel as a substitute. You can also use project experience of key personnel and offer different types of flexibility and documentation that demonstrates your company's financial responsibility in lieu of submitting the 2 years worth of financial statements. We also engage with our customers that utilize the Small Business Innovation Research Program and the SBTR, so it's SBIR and STTR or STTP. These are highly competitive programs that allow small businesses to participate and engage with federal research and development. We at GSA do not have explicit SBIR, STTR authority, but our assisted acquisition service does do a lot of work with agency customers who actually utilize this particular program. Additionally, we've got Fastlane, which allows eligible vendors to go through a faster period of time to actually bring their contract actions to bear, directly supports our federal agency customer requirements. And we're continuing to push the envelope, if you will, and be proactive with our small business engagement to facilitate even more expedited activities. And so we're hopeful that as we continue through the rest of this year and beyond, we'll continue to do some of the streamlining of those internal processes themselves and foster that proactive dialogue. Next slide, please. Before we get to questions, I am going to share a couple more items. I didn't realize we were so quick to the end, so my gracious. Let me go ahead and share a couple more pieces of thought just to share, to keep you keep your brains thinking and again facilitate our conversation a little bit later on. One of the things I wanted to share in particular was a focus on DEIA, and in particular how we think through the application of DEIA principles within the General Services Administration. Again, diversity, equity, inclusion, and access is the explanation for the DEI concept. We take that very seriously within GSA, and one of the best ways we can explain and illustrate our commitment to that is by the utilization of universal design principles. In addition to the 508 compliant, we want to make sure that as we are not only designing our vehicles, but in particular ensuring that the engagement with GSA, particularly through web-based platforms, that we're doing it in a way that is going to facilitate access and understanding of all different kinds of users, particularly those in underrepresented populations. We want to make sure that as we're making decisions, we're looking to the data related to small businesses, data across the totality of the capabilities that we offer, and we use that data to inform the focuses that we place on our acquisition vehicles and to facilitate decision-making in the go forward. As I mentioned earlier, as part of our broader equity plan, we do have a focus on Polaris, the newest of our vendors of our acquisition vehicles, and look forward to engagement with our small business community vendor partners in seeing that acquisition come to fruition. And then last but not least, I wanted to touch upon a new program that we have. We have constructed a very recent partnership with the Defense Innovation Unit. And the purpose of that memorandum of understanding with DIU is to bring successfully prototyped IT solutions and companies to the multiple award schedule through partnerships with these non-traditional industry partners. We've done our first meeting with them in the last several months, have a lot of really exciting work underway, and are actually even working to create a bit more of a proactive engagement with some of those vendors to ensure that we can facilitate a more expeditious movement to take advantage of our vehicles. So now, now that I put those extra couple of things in the back of your mind, I guess we are at a point where I can do my last couple comments and then we can proceed certainly to questions. So I think if I had to sum it up in a bumper sticker, what would I want to leave you with today? And I try to think about life sometimes actually in the construct of a bumper sticker because we don't always get a chance to have the time I've had with you to explain all of the nooks and crannies of IT acquisition. So I've been in my job in ITC, in the Deputy Assistant Commissioner for Acquisition, since December. And I've learned a great deal in that time frame. And I've been in and out of acquisition a large part of my federal career. But what I do know is this. In every day that I am on the job, I continually learn about the criticality, the importance of bringing a diverse set of perspectives to the table. A diverse set of perspectives across our acquisition workforce, a diverse set of perspectives across the industry communities with whom we engage, and a diverse set of perspectives across the customer agencies that we serve. The diversity of those perspectives is critical because the world that we are engaged in now is absolutely as complicated and dynamic as anything we've ever been through. And it's only through a holistic examination and a variety of multidisciplinary voices at the table that we can really begin to ensure that wow in the here and now, that eye on the horizon, the sustainability that we want to ensure is present in the infrastructure and the technologies that we use to make the mission happen. So as you close out my commentary today, I look forward to your questions. I know we've got only till about 3 o'clock, so we'll sort of take as much time as we can. Frankly, anything I can't answer for you today, I'll look to my good colleagues over at the AACC to take note of those, and we'll be happy to circle back if there's anything I can't answer. So I think with that, again, many, many thanks for your time and your energy, and I'm looking forward to just having a dialogue today. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. That was fantastic. Full of information. Usually, I jot down notes as I'm going saying, oh, they did not answer this or that, but you kept answering all my questions as you were going. So I hope the audience saw that as well. Amika, would you like to look at the questions in the Q&A and ask some of those? And then I have some prepared questions, Amy, that I'd like to ask as well, but we'd like to have audience questions answered first. So Amika, I'm
Sure.
going to have you go through the questions and see which ones you want to ask.
Sure. So one of our questions is they would like to know how GSA supports the SBA 8A and Native A vendors. And they currently hold some of the GSA contract schedules now. So if you could touch on how you can support or how GSA is supporting 8A and Native AAs.
Amy, you're talking on mute if you are talking.
There we go. Sorry about that. And I just solved world peace just in that very second. So I do apologize for that. I'm in a bit of a better space to speak to the 8A piece more broadly. I think I'd have to take back, in all honesty, some of the work that we are doing at GSA with our Native American colleagues. So if you will have to kind of take that as a take back. And again, I'm just going to be straight up and honest with all of you guys about what I can address today and what I'll need to circle back to. In the 8A space, one of the most preeminent engagements that we have, and certainly we work with SBA on a wide array of topics, is the work that we have done on STARS 3, which is explicitly a small business set aside that provides flexible access and customized IT solutions to a large, diverse pool of 8A industry partners. We've had 3 cohorts. The most recent came out this summer. But I would say more broadly that when we are looking at designing acquisition vehicles, we have a very, very close partnership with the Small Business Administration. We work with our OSDBU office within the General Services Administration, and we work with SBA. And as part of our internal processes and as we design our acquisition vehicles, we always have an eye on this notion of competition. And particularly with the new administration's emphasis on DEIA, we are always looking to ensure that we've got the right degree of opportunity and access for our small business community in any and in all of the vehicles. Some of them are more geared towards small business communities than others, but in either case, we do look to support whether it's mentor protege programs or joint venture arrangements. We do look to consider competition in the broadest array possible so that no matter where you sit on your maturity curve, whether you're super new or perhaps a little more mature in your journey, if you are a small business, you have an opportunity to engage with and partner with the General Services Administration. As I mentioned earlier as well, Polaris is a terrific example where we've really taken a much more focused look on covering and engaging with the totality, with a broader array of socioeconomic perspectives relative to our small business community. And we're very excited to see how that plays out over the rest of the summer. And we'll continue to stay in close touch with OSDBU and with SBA on how we continue to facilitate that greater degree of access. There is, as I understand it, a new SBA rule, which is either just recently out or about to come out, which will allow small business subcontractors to more easily demonstrate their prior experience. And we really welcome the implementation of that rule at GSA. Our perspective is that the government, we think, will be able to attract new small business prime contractors, and it'll enhance competition, as I mentioned earlier, in the government contracting space, and really provide agencies with increased access to innovative products and services, because we do know that some of our small businesses and the small business community writ large really are a foundation for that innovative thinking. So hopefully that at least touches upon part of your question. And again, happy to take the other one back for further review.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, if I can interrupt and jump on that question you just answered, Amy. One of the common things that we hear from our small business community is that while these vehicles are meant for small business, the entry point is still pretty onerous for a lot of small businesses to get in. And we understand GSA's perspective. You're looking for companies who can also implement, not just win the IDIQ, but implement on those task orders. So we certainly understand that perspective. But can we expect from GSA perhaps an innovative IDIQ for startups that gives them that opportunity to build past performance, to demonstrate innovation without having the $1 million contracts to bring for points, and help get some clearance process done, because that's a big chicken and egg story for small businesses. Oh, you're on mute again.
I'm not sure why that's happening because I'm not touching the button, so I do apologize for that. Maybe I'll just kind of keep my hands free or something like that. Make sure I kind of break down your question in a couple different ways. So in the body of the slides, I believe we talked a little bit about the Springboard. And that is an example of a program within GSA where, IT category startup Springboard, where we do allow companies that are in the earlier stages of their maturity to come in and use a bit more of a flexible approach relative to demonstrating experience. In the body of Polaris, and I don't want to, since that is an active procurement, to go into some of the details, but we also acknowledge as part of the Polaris vehicle that companies will come into that experience with a wide array of capabilities and experiences. And we acknowledge that. And if folks take a look and review the RFP, we acknowledge that there are going to be a wide array and a diversity of capabilities that will be required. And we recognize that as part of the broader process. I also do think, though, that the work that we're doing, and this is really in the just started category with the Defense Innovation Unit, is allowing us to more directly engage with some of these opportunities for innovation and move them faster through that process, recognizing that they may be in a more nascent place in their development and overarching maturity. I do think this is, though, worth taking back and sharing with GSA more broadly. The only other note I would make on this is that there are a number of supports that are available on, of course, the World Wide Web to colleagues that may be on the line. And I can make it a point, if not in the body of the slides themselves, to send you some of those links. There is a website for buy.gsa.gov that has a number of different vendor resources. There's actually an OMB site on tools that folks can use, certainly at the agency level, but to facilitate access to small business, because it's, I think, not just, it is certainly about ensuring that small business have an ability to get where they need to be, but it's equally making sure that the agencies are aware of how to take advantage of those small businesses so that you don't just get on a vehicle and then don't have really the opportunity to compete. We had in our acquisition gateway something called hallways.cap.gsa.gov, which also has resources. And then there is, of course, the GSA Interact post, which has notifications about what's coming down the pike. And I as well have a number of links that I can share with folks about small business webinars that are in the works, navigating equity and procurement, Money Smart for small businesses, how to get on the GSA schedule. So there are a number of different events and training opportunities that also could be helpful. But your foundational point, which I hear loud and clear, is that the ability to do business is somewhat predicated upon understanding the process and figuring out a way to get into the pool without having such a huge burden that you can't get there in the first place. So I hear you loud and clear on that, and I appreciate the feedback. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Amika, over to you.
Yes. So with these small businesses, where can they find opportunities for subcontracting?
Well, that's a great question. Amika, I can tell you have been in the GSA family, my friend. So I think certainly as we are looking across the totality of vehicles, there are definitely opportunities. And what I can do is provide to both of you to share a website that helps you understand and helps folks get a one-click to see the totality of those small business subcontracting opportunities. Certainly in the most recent Polaris, that again is focused on small businesses in the socioeconomic zones that I had mentioned, but those are also that allows for joint for partnership arrangements in the context of that. And then what I can do is again take back and send to you a link that allows folks to click and understand where there are opportunities for some of the subcontracting events. I will say that again, even if as we think about some of the big vehicles, Alliant 2 is an example of that. We want to make sure that there's competition at multiple levels, and that competition can, where at all possible, facilitate engagement with our small business community. So thank you for that, Amika. I appreciate it greatly. And again, we'll make sure that, and I'll make sure I talk with Chris when we circle back with you. We'll just get you that list of links that'll help folks get where they need to go.
Excellent, excellent. We'll be sure to share that with everyone. So to follow on to that, then, there's a lot of small businesses that don't have any type of special statuses. They're not disadvantaged or veteran owned. So what do opportunities look like for them without these special qualifications?
And when you're asking that question, just for my own clarification, are they designated already as a small business, or it's just that they're not?
They're just like a general total small business, but they don't have a veteran certification, or they don't have a SDB or a hub zone. So what does that look like for them as far as pursuing these opportunities or getting on a schedule?
Right. Well, certainly, and I certainly do not want to sound like a broken record, but the two pools that are currently out for review by our industry community are the two pools for Polaris, which is the small business pool, which is not explicitly a particular designation, and then women-owned small business. So those are two examples. I think as well, we have multiple opportunities on the multiple award schedule that can be very helpful to our small business community and might be a great way to kind of engage. Again, I recognize that in the case that you had mentioned earlier, it's not just enough to know the thing is out there. You have to be able to figure out how to get where you wish to go. But the multiple award schedule can equally be a way for smaller businesses that may not have a particular designation to start their journey and engage with the federal government. I do think at a minimum, and it would be my encouragement for folks to take advantage of the many tools and webinars that GSA offers that helps our small business community come to understand the complexity of the federal government. I've been with the federal government more decades than I care to tell you all, and I can attest firsthand that it is extremely complicated. But at least when I think about our engagement with our industry community and even with our customer community, I can tell you from firsthand experience that it is important to us that no matter where you come from, no matter what experience you have, no matter what you bring to the table, we want to facilitate a customer journey for our industry partners that makes sense, that works for all kinds of people, so that you don't have to have a PhD in acquisition to come and do business with us, which I think was sort of to your point earlier at the beginning of our question and answer session, so that you can come in with the expertise you have and find a way to engage with us. And what I like to say is really grow with us over time, so that we are not in a partnership that is transactional, but in a partnership that is transformational and sustainable over the lifetime of your business, so that you can grow and mature with us as your capabilities and your offerings grow and mature as well. So that's partly why when we think about our acquisition portfolio, we really try to look at it through the two lenses, certainly the multiple award schedule lens, where there are a number of different ways to play, and as well as through some of those targeted government-wide acquisition vehicles themselves. And as I said, whether it's STARS 3, 8A STARS 3, which is the small business set aside, or RBETS 2, or certainly the most exciting one that's on the block right now, Polaris, we do see a tremendous degree of value in partnering with those small business community and ensuring that we are able to offer the greatest, the most innovative, the highest qualified, the greatest capabilities possible to make the mission happen for our customers and for the mission and the citizens that we serve. So we really believe in the partnership with our small business community. We really are excited to get feedback like in today's session, to take that feedback and to incorporate it into our strategic thinking as we move forward.
Thank you, Amy. So there's many more questions, but I know we're getting to the top of the hour. So I just want to ask one more about, since you mentioned where to go, and there's so much information at a GSA website. So just navigating the acquisition process, what would you recommend for these small businesses? Would it be to go to the assisted acquisition services first, and then figure out what their options are, how to get connected with a contracting officer that may be assisting them, or a business manager assisting them with getting on a schedule? What would you recommend that they do to navigate this process from the beginning?
I think that's
Because yeah, a lot of
no,
times they think, oh, I need to find
I
a
agree.
program manager, and
No,
that's
no, no,
how
no,
I can
no.
find out what I can sell to them. But they first have
Exactly.
to get to step one.
Yep. You know what, and Amika, I think that's frankly a perfect question to end our discussion on today. So I'm glad you asked. I think the fastest and the easiest button that I can contemplate is to engage with the Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. Hit the easy button and go to OSDBU. And why is that the case? Because OSDBU works across the totality of GSA and the totality of the Federal Acquisition Service. They are excellent partners in knowing how to get you where you need to go. And that might, frankly, short circuit all of the different information and translate that into action. So that would be the place that I would start.
And Amy, and Amika, you're on mute.
Oh, it's okay.
Amy, I know you said that you probably want to end the conversation here, but I have one last question that I must get off my chest here.
All righty.
The administration's push on green technologies. Is GSA considering a vehicle that focuses on green technologies and with the climate change initiatives? What can we expect from GSA coming up in the future on acquisition of climate friendly or again, green technologies to help the government?
So I can't speak to any particular things that may or may not be in the works. So they would be probably considered deliberative. But what I can say is that I am aware that there are a number of updates to the Federal Acquisition Regulation to address some of the concerns related to climate, and any provisions that, of course, incorporated into the Federal Acquisition Regulation will be incorporated into the vehicles that we have currently. Within the ITC category, we do have climate related or green related terms and conditions as part of many of our vehicles, whether it's reducing on-prem footprints, making sure that we're making use of the appropriate types of technologies to facilitate reduction in greenhouse gases or whatever. But I think at this point, what I can say is that when our administrator talks about sort of her critical and key priorities, she does recognize the importance of facilitating a long-term approach to climate sustainability. She does look toward that focus, both from the federal acquisition perspective as well as from the public building service perspective, and I think looks to all of those parts of GSA to collaborate on that question. In terms of those particular acquisition vehicles, again, those are things that would be underway, and I'm not really going to be in a position to talk about that today, but I can say that it is a key priority of our administrators, and we're working collaboratively across the totality of GSA to figure out how to best make that happen.
Perfect, thank you. And I think I will end, although there are so many questions, even from the audience and from us, we'll send those to you anyways, if you're able to answer them. We'd like to get back to our audience. But Amika, thank you for your time facilitating, moderating today. And of course, Amy, thank you so much for a fantastic presentation. And our audience, thank you for joining us. We will be sharing the recording and the slides with all of you. Hopefully you'll gain more insight and information after reviewing it over again, because there was a ton of information in here. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you. It was really a pleasure. I hope everybody has a great weekend. It's Friday Eve, and take care. And thank you again for the opportunity. I'm very, very grateful. And I really appreciated the questions, and look forward to connecting at some point in the future. So take good care. Amika, great to see you. Thank you again to everyone.
You as well. Thank you.
Bye-bye.